the biggest surprise came quietly. His daughter, whom he hadn't seen in over 12 years, showed up at his language session one day. "Papa?" she whispered. He turned slowly, and froze. Tears welled in both their eyes. She had seen his story online. "I always told my friends my dad was smart. I just didn't know how smart," she smiled. That hug, after years of silence, was louder than any applause. Manuel hadn't just found purpose. He'd found his family again. It started like any other Monday morning at the Westbridge Police Department. Officer Rick Dalton had been on the force for over a decade, known for his rough tone and questionable treatment of civilians, especially black men. To him, authority wasn't earned, it was enforced. That day, he was patrolling the downtown district, frustrated, tired, and short-tempered. That's when he saw a well-dressed black man standing by the station's front entrance. No uniform. No badge. Just confidence. Rick didn't. "Hey! You can't stand there," Officer Rick barked, stepping right into the man's personal space. The man stayed calm, hands in his pockets, offering a polite nod. "I'm just waiting for someone," he said with quiet confidence. But Rick didn't like the tone, too calm, too composed. "Waiting for who? You got ID? You think you can just stand around like you own the place?" Rick's voice grew louder. The man didn't flinch. "I don't want trouble," he replied. That only made Rick more aggressive. "Then W." Rick's pride flared. "Answer me or leave. You got 5 seconds." The man sighed and slowly pulled out his wallet. Before he could even hand it over, Rick slapped it away. It hit the ground. "Nah, I don't take smartass lightly." The man calmly bent to pick it up. "Is that really necessary?" he asked. That was it, Rick snapped. With a loud spit, he aimed directly at the man's polished shoes. "You people think you run things?" he muttered. The silence afterward was loud. The man looked up, no longer. Rick smirked. "Yeah? And who's gonna make me?" The man didn't respond. Instead, he pulled out a folder from his briefcase and walked straight into the station, leaving Rick confused and seething. Inside, officers paused, exchanging glances. Lieutenant Maria, who had just returned from briefing, spotted the man and immediately approached with a wide smile. "Chief Thompson. You're early," she exclaimed. Rick, now entering behind him, froze mid-step. That name. Chief. A chill ran down his spine. Rick's mouth went dry. He looked around, everyone was watching now. Chief Thompson gave a firm handshake to Maria, then turned to Rick. For a moment, the entire station held its breath. "Chief," Maria said, trying to smooth the awkwardness, "this is Officer Dalton, one of our seniors here." Thompson gave Rick a calm but piercing look. "Oh, we've already met," he said evenly. Rick looked like he wanted to disappear. Maria's smile faded slightly, realizing something was off. Thompson then addressed. In the briefing room, the officers assembled, buzzing with tension. Rick sat stiffly in the corner, barely making eye contact. Chief Thompson stood at the front, composed, commanding. "Before we move forward," he began, "I want to be clear, this department is about to change." He paused, scanning every face. "Respect is not optional. Prejudice has no place here. And leadership will be earned." Everyone knew this wasn't just a speech. It was a warning. Rick shifted in his seat, the weight of his. After the meeting, the room emptied slowly, quiet murmurs filling the air. Rick didn't move. He sat there, as if rooted to the chair. His reputation, his pride, all cracked in one moment. Chief Thompson walked past him without a word. That silence hit harder than any punishment. Later, in his office, Thompson reviewed internal reports. Rick's name came up more than once: excessive force, citizen complaints, racial profiling. The chief took a deep breath. This wasn't just about him, it was about CLE. Rick finally returned to his desk, but it didn't feel like his anymore. Eyes followed him. Whispers followed too. That's the guy who spat on the new chief. His chest tightened. That day, Thompson began holding one-on-one meetings with every officer. When Rick's turn came, he stepped into the office reluctantly. Thompson didn't even look up at first, just kept reading a file. Rick stood awkwardly. Then, the chief looked up and simply said, "Sit." That single word carried more power than Rick's why. There was a long pause. Thompson stared directly into Rick's eyes. "You remember our first meeting?" Rick nodded, ashamed. "What were you thinking?" the chief asked calmly. Rick mumbled something about protocol, not recognizing him, trying to excuse his behavior. Thompson leaned forward. "You spit on me." Rick didn't speak. "Would you have done that if I looked like you?" The question landed like a punch. Rick opened his mouth, then closed it again. The chief didn't want apologies, he wanted echo. Rick finally broke the silence. "I've made mistakes," he admitted. "I was out of line. I lost control." Thompson nodded slowly. "You did. And you've been doing it for years." He slid a folder across the desk: complaints, reports, ignored red flags. "You've been protected by the system. That ends now." Rick's heart sank. "Am I getting fired?" he asked quietly. Thompson leaned back. "You should be. But I believe in second chances, when they're earned." Rick looked up, surprised. "You want to st?" The next few weeks were grueling for Rick. The chief assigned him to community outreach, not glamorous patrols or big cases. He had to visit local schools, attend workshops, listen to stories from people who had feared him. It felt like punishment at first. But over time, something shifted. A little girl at a school drew a picture of Rick in uniform and wrote "Thank you" on it. An elderly man shook his hand and said, "I'm glad you're here." Now, Rick began to see his badge not as power, but as Rick started arriving early, staying late, and doing something he never did before: listening. Not just to his peers, but to people in the community he once dismissed. At first, some doors stayed shut. Faces turned away. But little by little, trust began to form. Meanwhile, Chief Thompson kept a close eye on everything, not to punish, but to see if Rick truly understood the depth of what needed to change. One afternoon, Thompson saw Rick helping a teenager fix a flat tire outside the station. No see. Inside the station, changes were happening too. Chief Thompson rolled out new training focused on bias awareness, de-escalation, and empathy. Some officers welcomed it. Others resisted. Rick found himself in the middle, once the loudest voice in the room, now the one asking others to give the chief's ideas a chance. It shocked his peers. One even joked, "Who are you and what have you done with Dalton?" Rick just smiled. "Maybe I finally started being who I should have been all along." He didn't say. One evening, Rick was assigned to a community town hall. The crowd was tense, mostly people of color who had long distrusted the badge. Rick stood in the back, uncertain. When a woman took the mic and described being harassed by police, describing actions he'd once been guilty of, his chest tightened. After she finished, Rick raised his hand. Slowly, he stood. "I used to be part of the problem," he said. "I can't erase that. But I'm here now to listen. Not to defend, just to learn." The room went. News of Rick's transformation spread. Local media picked up the story, officer who spat on black chief now leads change inside out. Some called it PR. Others called it redemption. Rick didn't care. He wasn't trying to look good, he was trying to be good. Chief Thompson watched from afar. He hadn't forgotten that day outside the station. But he also hadn't forgotten the potential in people to grow. He called Rick into his office again. "You're not the same man I met," he said. Rick nodded. "Then?" Thompson smiled slightly. "I didn't just hold up the mirror. You chose to look." He handed Rick a new assignment, training new recruits. It was a test. Could the man who once stood for everything wrong become someone who taught others to do it right? Rick accepted without hesitation. "What should I teach them first?" he asked. Thompson replied, "That respect isn't earned by rank, it's earned by character. And that starts the moment they put on the badge." Rick left the office with a sense of purpose. Rick entered the academy classroom feeling nervous for the first time in years. Rows of fresh recruits sat eagerly, eyes filled with hope, and some with ego. He began not with a lecture, but with a story. "There was a day I wore this badge with pride, but not with honor. I disrespected a man I didn't know. And it turned out, he was my chief." The room fell silent. "I was given a second chance, not because I deserved it, but because someone believed I could change." "You're here to protect people." "Nah." The recruits listened closely. One of them raised a hand. "Sir. How did you change?" Rick smiled. "I stopped talking, and started listening. I stopped acting tough, and started acting right." He paused, then added, "And I faced the pain I caused. No badge can protect you from that." After class, a young recruit approached him privately. "My brother had a run-in with cops. It didn't end well. I never thought I'd join the force, until today." Rick nodded. That moment, just one recruit seeing a bet. Meanwhile, Chief Thompson faced his own challenges. His reform sparked pushback. Some officers quietly resisted, others complained to the mayor. But Thompson stayed firm. "Change is uncomfortable," he told city leaders, "but it's necessary." His stance gained support from community leaders, civil rights groups, and families who finally felt seen. And having Rick Dalton, once a symbol of everything wrong, now standing beside him, only strengthened the message: transformation is possible, but only I. One day, during roll call, Thompson made an announcement. "This department has made mistakes. But today, we take a step forward." He unveiled a new community partnership program. Officers would work alongside local leaders, not above them. Rick volunteered first. When asked why, he said, "Because I spent too long building walls. It's time to build bridges." A month later, Rick stood at a neighborhood block party, once the same streets where he was feared. Now, kids ran up to him. Parents waved. During that block party, a reporter approached Rick for an interview. "Do you regret that day?" she asked, referencing the moment he spat on the chief. Rick took a deep breath. "Every single day. But I also thank God for it, because without it, I might have never changed." She asked what he would say to others stuck in that old mindset. Rick looked directly at the camera. "It's never too late to unlearn hate. But you have to choose it. No one can force it on you." That clip went viral. And suddenly, the viral clip sparked national attention. News stations, blogs, and even podcasts covered the story, from disgrace to redemption, a cop's journey. Rick was invited to speak at law enforcement seminars, civil rights panels, and even schools. But he kept reminding everyone, "I'm not a hero. I'm just proof that people can change, if they want to." Chief Thompson, watching from behind the scenes, stayed humble too. He didn't crave credit. His goal was always deeper: to rebuild a department that's there. Inside the station, real change took root. Officers began holding each other accountable. Cultural sensitivity workshops became standard. Complaints dropped. Community trust reports began showing improvement. One day, a black teenager approached Rick near the station. "My mom used to tell me to avoid this place. But now, she says if anything happens, I should come to you." Rick's eyes welled up. That simple sentence hit harder than medals or praise. It meant his apology had become action, and Meanwhile, Chief Thompson was nominated for a state-level leadership award in policing reform. But when the committee called to inform him, he declined the spotlight. "Give it to the team. Real change isn't one man, it's a department choosing to do better." Rick was among those asked to accept on behalf of the force. Standing on that stage, looking out at a room full of officers, politicians, and community leaders, he began with a confession: "I was once the worst version of what a cop can be." Boo. Rick closed that speech with a message: if we want trust, we have to earn it, every day, with every action. The room gave him a standing ovation. Back home, the department felt the impact. More officers stepped up to mentor youth, volunteer locally, and bridge gaps. Thompson's philosophy spread: power should be used to protect, not to punish. One night, after a late shift, Rick sat outside the station alone. Chief Thompson joined him. No speeches. No lectures. Just quiet understanding between TW. Rick turned to the chief and asked, "Why didn't you fire me that day?" Thompson smiled. "Because I saw something in you, even when you couldn't see it in yourself." Rick nodded. "That moment changed everything for me." Thompson looked ahead. "Good. Now go help someone else have their moment too." The sky was quiet, but something in the air felt settled. Rick wasn't just a better officer, he was a better man. And the man who once spit on a stranger had finally learned what it meant to truly care. Weeks later, a young rookie officer named James was brought in for a disciplinary review, caught speaking rudely to a civilian during a stop. Instead of punishing him on the spot, Chief Thompson asked Rick to handle it. Rick sat James down and said, "You're standing where I once stood. Full of pride. Blind to your tone. I almost lost everything because of it." James looked shaken. Rick didn't yell, he guided. "You have a choice. Right now. Be the badge that people fear. Or the one they trust." The department now had something it never truly had before: culture. Not just rules, but values. Respect, accountability, empathy. Those words weren't just posters, they were visible in how officers showed up, spoke, and served. Rick led workshops, Chief Thompson continued building partnerships, and crime rates dipped. More importantly, complaint rates plummeted. A department once known for misconduct was now being studied as a national model. And at the center of it all? A man who had once been T. On the anniversary of Thompson's first day as chief, the mayor held a small ceremony. Chief Thompson didn't just clean up a department. He rebuilt its soul, she said. But Thompson deflected the praise. "I didn't do it alone. I just lit the match." The flame was carried by those brave enough to admit their flaws and grow from them. Rick stood nearby, quietly watching. Later that night, he got a message from the chief: "Time for your next step. Let's talk promotion tomorrow." Rick didn't smile. In a world where power often blinds and prejudice runs deep, one routine encounter flipped the entire system upside down. What happens when the man you humiliate turns out to be your new boss? This isn't just a story about disrespect, it's a story about identity, justice, and a lesson in humility that the whole country watched unfold. Stay with us as we unravel the jaw-dropping true events that shook an entire police department from the inside.